Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are talking children, and specifically children in World of Warcraft Legion, because it is full of them. There's newborn elf children, there's sad children picking up swords, and by the way, I think this just proves that Velen and Greymane are terrible parents, because everyone knows if you want to cheer up a sad kid, don't give them his dead dad's sword, give him a ball machine. Look, dead dad's sword, ball machine, it's easy. And possibly the most important of all, the Child of Light and Shadow. Now, the Child of Light and Shadow is someone that has been talked about throughout the expansion, mostly by Xe'ra, the prime Naru whose heart we kept in our order hall and whose quest chain you played through once, then haven't bothered to do on any of your alts. So just in case you need reminding, the Child of Light and Shadow is the one foretold in Xe'ra's prophecy, destined to end the Age of Demons. So, it's a pretty big deal. Xe'ra herself has identified Illidan Stormrage as the child of the prophecy. It's on her say-so that we rescue Illidan from his snot bubble, because, apparently we were idiots for even putting him there in the first place, even though we were only doing what another Naru told us to, so, maybe the Naru need to make up their minds, that's what I'm saying. It's because of her that we don't just throw Illidan back in jail when he steals our Gul'dan kill, and it's because of her that Emodan plays such an important role in the assault of Argus. After all, he is the chosen one, the Child of Light and Shadow. But here's the thing, Xe'ra's prophecy didn't work out too well for her, and it's looking more and more like the Naru may not be quite as infallible as we'd been led to believe. So what if Xe'ra was wrong about Illidan? Important though he undoubtedly is, what if he isn't the true Child of Light and Shadow? Because the thing is, there's someone else in the game right now who, after recent events, fits that description a whole lot better than Illidan, and who is much more likely to lead the battle going forward. What if the Child of Light and Shadow isn't some vague metaphor, because, he's a bit bad and demony, but he's actually really good though? What if it means someone who is quite literally the Child of Light and Shadow? What if the true chosen one is Arator? So join us as we look at the son of Alleria and Turalyon, who he is, where he's been, and go on a spoiler-tastic journey to the end of Legion to wonder if he might just be the most important character in World of Warcraft history, okay? Go, 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 go. Like Jaden Smith and Chet Hanks, the most interesting thing about Arator initially is who his parents are, because Alleria Windrunner and Turalyon are two absolute giants of the Warcraft universe. See, look, they're massive! Telling you their whole story would take more than one video, or indeed one video game, or indeed one book. So, obviously, we're gonna do it in about a minute. Alleria is the elder sister of both Varisa and Sylvanas Windrunner, general forest-fighting high-elf badass and orc hater, and this statue outside Stormwind. Turalyon was second in command to Anduin Lothar of the Alliance forces during the Second War, and then became top dog after Lothar was killed in combat by one Orgrim Doomhammer. That's Lothar's broken sword that he still wields today. He's this statue outside Stormwind, and those statues are there because it was Turalyon who led the Sons of Lothar, which included Alleria and of course Khadgar in the ranks, through the Dark Portal to Draenor to solve the orc problem once and for all, where they found Ner'zhul destroying the planet in a portal overload, so they jumped through a random one to hide out for a bit, and when they came back, the Sons of Lothar were stranded on a shell of a world and missing their two coolest members. We were of course reunited with the remaining Sons of Lothar years later when we passed through a rebuilt portal in the Burning Crusade, which is also when we were first introduced to Arator. Up until this point, we always knew that Turalyon and Alleria were in love, but we'd never heard anything about a child before. He's not mentioned in Beyond the Dark Portal at all, so needless to say, it was a bit of a surprise when he cropped up, especially as the window for him to be conceived between his parents first getting it on and then disappearing into the Twisting Nether is a pretty small one. When we first meet him in Outland, he tells us he was only an infant when his parents were sent to Draenor, and frankly, yeah, no shit, he would have to have been. Other members of the Sons of Lothar expedition, like Danath Trollbane, know who he is, but Arator would never have had a chance to know his parents in any meaningful way, and as might be expected, he's got one or two issues as a result. He talks about his parents, especially Turalyon, constantly, which is ironic because, and I hate to break this to you, kid, but they never mentioned you even once. Not even a casual note to the babysitter saying, oh yeah, please remember to feed our child while we're gone. Help yourself to whatever's in the fridge. We'll be back by 10 at the latest, unless the planet we're on explodes and we get lost in the Twisting Nether for thousands of years. Lol. After his parents disappeared, Arator went on to become a paladin of the Silver Hand, and following his father's footsteps, he accompanied the Alliance reinforcements throughout Outland in the Burning Crusade, searching for his parents the whole time. And in Legion, he crops up again under the command of the High Lord of the Silver Hand, which is well, me, and even does a bit of bodyguard work for, yeah, me. And fair play, he's a good bodyguard. Excellent taste in transmog. We need more like him. And it's here, in the Paladin Order Hall, that Light's heart finally decides to play a recorded message to Arator from his parents, from across the stars. Parents that he hasn't seen or heard from in around 25 years. So apart from his rich lineage and the fact that he appears as an Order Hall follower and potential companion for Paladin players this expansion, there's a couple of other interesting things about Arator. For one, his in-game model. Arator is of course half human, half elf. He is probably named after Arathor, the first human nation that also formed an alliance with the High Elves. And whereas he's not the only half-elf, half-human character we see in WoW, Aladai has the same background, and Kalagos' mortal form is supposed to be half-elf, Arator is the only one represented by an elf model in-game. There's also the matter of the dream that he tells the players about in the Burning Crusade. A crimson skyline envelops me as Legion, numbering beyond comprehension, battle in the distance. I kneel before the body of a man, presumably my father, and weep. As he is gasping for air, his body wholly crushed, he whispers something. Despite every effort, I am unable to hear what he's trying to tell me. The anxious dreams of a lonely orphan, or maybe something more. And the story of Arator is still progressing. As we will have all seen by now, Turalyon and Alleria are back on Argus. As we take the battle to the demon homeworld following the actions of the supposed Child of Light and Shadow, Illidan Stormrage, we join forces with the Army of the Light to make our final stand against Sargeras' Legion. Arator comes with us to Argus because, you know, he works for me now and I told him to. And here he is reunited with his parents after being apart for over 20 years for him and over 1,000 years for them. Yeah, don't ask because no one really knows, but it appears to be one of those spacey-wacy, timey-wimey things going on. It's fine, just ignore it. Seriously, it's fine. The family then proceed to have one of the most underwhelming reunions since any new Weezer album in the last 10 years, after which the story seems pretty much done. There are some questions, like why does Arator prefer hanging out with his Auntie Valeria rather than his actual mum, who he's been looking for all his life, but you know, nothing major. So why are we even talking about him now? Because sure, he makes for an interesting footnote in the lore, and his story is admittedly quite touching, but there's nothing especially consequential about it, surely. Well, the reason we're talking about him is mostly because of what happens to Turalyon and Alleria since we've known them. Before disappearing, Turalyon was a priest and then one of the first paladins, so he's always had a bit of a thing about the light. But since landing on Argus, it's been a bit startling as to just how seriously he takes it. And I'm not just talking about his new Warhammer 40k meets Tron armor set here either. As the Prime Naru, Turalyon worships Xe'ra as an actual deity, to the extent that he will lock up Alleria when she does something Xe'ra doesn't approve of. At a point in the story where even Velen is having doubts and regrets about the things the light has made him do, Turalyon stands apart as a character who represents a mortal embodiment of the light more than any other still around. And Alleria, well, she's kind of the opposite. She's been studying the void, the power of shadow, under the tutelage of the not at all ominously named, surely nothing can possibly go wrong in this situation, ethereal Locust Walker. A storyline which recently climaxed in Alleria taking the full force of a dying corrupted Naru to the face and becoming, well, seriously, look at her. She is now, more so than perhaps any character we know, a physical embodiment of the shadow. So if Turalyon is light and Alleria is shadow and Arator is their child, what does that make him? Well, not the child of light and shadow apparently, because we've already got one of those, Illidan Stormrage. In Xe'ra's prophecy, Illidan is the chosen one, the child of light and shadow. He is full of darkness, fell demonic energy flows through him, but he will also be our savior. He's murdered and oppressed thousands of people, but he did it because he thought it would help stop the Legion. He is the heady mix of good and bad that child of the light and shadow surely refers to, isn't he? Well, it certainly looked that way until Xe'ra and Illidan were finally brought face to face at the beginning of patch 7.3, and a moment which should have seen Illidan embrace his supposed destiny and become commander of the light didn't quite turn out the way Xe'ra had foreseen, and now frankly she won't be seeing much of anything at all. It's fair to say Xe'ra was wrong when it came to Illidan embracing the light. Like, really wrong. And if she was wrong about that, is it possible she's been wrong about other things too? There is no doubt that Illidan is super important in our fight against the Legion. There's no doubt we needed him to even get to Argus in the first place, and no doubt he's definitely someone we want on our side now that we're there. But is he really the one to put an end to the Age of Demons, as prophesied? Well, and this is spoiler territory, so be warned, the truth is that Illidan's story hasn't got all that much further to go. The end of the Antorus raid will see Illidan become the jailer of all of the Titans, including Sargeras, for the rest of eternity. A responsibility that is pleasingly fitting given his history, but not the kind of job you can just leave for a weekend to go adventuring whenever you fancy it. And any new problems that might be coming our way, we're going to have to take on without our favourite blind shit grinner. So what if Xe'ra misread her own prophecy? What if, when the prophecy predicts that the Child of Light and Shadow will put an end to the Age of Demons, it's not the Burning Legion that it means? After all, we call the forces of the Legion demons, but that's just a name that we give them. They aren't all the same race of being, they're not even from the same planet. They're a collection of ragtag monstrosities from across the universe, as we'll see when we take on Portal Keeper Hazabel in the Throne of Antorus raid. What if, when Xe'ra's prophecy mentions demons, it does so in the proper sense of the word, as in just really evil shit? Because there is no doubt that at some point in the future, we will indeed be facing off against enemies officially much scarier than the Legion. And I say officially because Sargeras is so scared of them, it's why he built the Legion in the first place. The Void Lords are gonna need a whole new breed of heroes to defeat them. I think Legion, and especially 7.3, has done a really good job of showing us that far from it being as simple as light good, shadow bad, the balance of the Warcraft universe is far more complex than that. We control playable heroes that embrace the void. We have prime manifestations of the light being uber creepy and forcing people to do stuff against their will. We have Naifu, and Naifu could never be bad. Truth be told, she's the only one that's ever truly understood me, and if you dare try and take her away from me, I will destroy you, and that's all I'm saying, okay? And even if you don't buy that, if nothing else, recent events have proven that Naru can be wrong, and I think Xe'ra was wrong about this prophecy. I don't think Illidan is the Child of Light and Shadow. I think Arator is. As quite literally the Child of Light and Shadow, Arator already fits the description better than Illidan ever did. And with Illidan out of the picture after Legion, the scene is set for him to step up and fulfill the prophecy. I mean, the boy can fight, trust me, I am his boss after all. So what can we expect from the Child of Light and Shadow in the future? So, well, first of all, there's the small matter of the dreams he keeps having about his father's death, which may or may not be a real thing that's going to happen. But after a bit of time with the ball machine to cheer up, I wouldn't be surprised to see Arator become a much more important figure in the story going forward. So first up, he's going to need a new model. I mean, yeah, he looks fine now, but if there's one thing that we've learned this expansion, it's that if you really want me to care about someone, you could do a lot worse than making them look like Mads Mikkelsen after going a few rounds with a DILF stick. Just something to think about there. And then, of course, he's going to need some baddies to fight. Now, we all suspect that the coming expansion is going to see a big Kultiran, Naga, Goblin, and Old God influence, which would seem the perfect opportunity to cut his teeth and gradually become more prominent in time for when the battle escalates, maybe the expansion after, and we take on some bigger, more shadowy fish. As the Child of Light and Shadow, with parents who can teach him about each side of that coin, you have to feel there is no one in the lore better placed to bring balance to the two. And if he goes ahead and does that, then he really is about to become possibly the most important character the game has ever seen. So what do you think, guys? Is Arator about to become one of the main protagonists of World of Warcraft? Or is following me around the Broken Isles gathering Dreamleaf really going to be the height of his achievements? And if Arator isn't going to step up and lead the charge against the Void Lords, who is? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real-life money to make this channel possible. Without you guys, there would not be a Taliesin and Evitel, so thank you. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Bregvids. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evitel. Until next time, cheerio.